Hello and a very warm welcome to this latest edition of Talking Germany, the show where we do just that. And my guest today is a man who's made it his mission to describe the world that he lives in, and that is precisely what he's done, visiting over 100 countries and writing 16 books in the process, mainly but not exclusively about his travels. And here he is in person, Andreas Altmann.
Thank you for the invitation.
Thank you for joining us here on Talking Germany. I'm really looking forward to talking. Now, Andreas Altmann hasn't just put a lot of energy into his travels and devoted a lot of thought to that very modern phenomenon, tourism. He's also revisited his childhood and, I think it's fair to say, tried to work out very hard indeed how best to live a life. I'm saying I'm looking forward to talking to you. I'm looking forward to talking to you about philosophy and life, but I'd like to begin with a job description. A lot of people call you a travel writer. You're not happy with that, are you?
Yeah, let me quote a minor writer, Mr. Chetwin, and he hated this expression, a travel writer. So, because this means only when I travel I have something to say, or I can write. No, I'm a writer. This is a wonderful word that doesn't exist in German. A writer is someone who works in an office. So I'm a writer, and sometimes I'm traveling and I do something on writing. Sometimes I do something on my childhood. So I'm just a writer. Yeah, it sounds very modest and very cool. Yeah,
it's very interesting. You mentioned there the English writer Bruce Chatwin, and as I recall, and I bet you know the answer to this question, he said that there's a very interesting origin, etymology to the word travel.
Yeah, of course, there is the same, like in French, it's travail. So there is travail, work.
So work,
exactly.
So
when you travel, it's hard work, and it's the same root, has the same roots between travail and travel. Yeah.
When you mention the word roots, are you a rootless person? You've travelled so very much, you know, one could imagine that you are, maybe rootless isn't the word, but maybe you are a restless spirit.
This reminds me of a story when I did a story for Geo and spent 7 nights in the Central Park. It was at the time when the murder rate in New York was...
You spent 7 nights in Central Park?
In New York. And this was the time when the murder rate per night was 7. Yeah. And I came across a guy, I smoked and I didn't have the lighter. So I ran after someone, a homeless bum, and I tried to catch him to light my cigarette. And then a police car came along, and he ran into this police car and said, hey, look at this homeless faggot. He wants to... That was wonderful. No, I'm not a homeless faggot. I'm not rootless. Nobody's rootless. I am European. These are my roots, and I'm a son of enlightenment. You know, try to use this verb in a dare. Okay. It means I'm a son of Erasmus of Rotterdam, of Voltaire.
The great philosopher, another great philosopher.
A little son of this. So I am a rationalist.
Are you a son of Germany? Are you a son of Bavaria?
If I like it or not, of course I am. I am also German, of course. And I have this kind of...
You were born in Bavaria, in southern Germany. What does that mean to you?
What kind of answer you want? It means...
I want your answer.
You must say I was born in a by God written, priest written, monk written, abuse written little German town. So it means, and there's a wonderful expression in the American education system, negative learning. I didn't know this word when I was a young boy. Negative learning means I don't know what I want, but I know what I don't want. So when I was young, and I didn't know the word, unconsciously and half-consciously I learned all these things I do not want in my future life. I do not want to live in stupid little, laid-back, stubborn, not stubborn, stubborn is a nice adjective, hypocritical, Catholic-run, priest-run place. I want to be in big cities. I want to be surrounded by interesting men and women. I want to learn something about the world. So it gives me this. I don't want to marry. I don't want to have a family. This is, of course, my roots. I saw a family which was devastated by a sick, mentally sick man.
Let's just wait on that one. We'll talk about that in just a second.
Yeah, so just do the contrary. To do something where I can see the world, to be open-minded, to live in big cities. So I do the contrary to what I learned.
Point taken. It's almost a manifesto, a very
is.
passionate manifesto for life. You've had your first impressions there from Andreas Altmann. Here is more.
Do I hear English irony?
Andreas Altmann in Altötting, the place where he grew up. He has horrible memories of it. Altötting in Bavaria is one of the most important pilgrimage sites in Germany. Hundreds of thousands of believers stream into the provincial city each year. It's a place shaped significantly by Catholicism. The pilgrims provide a major source of income for the city. And they're what dealers in religious articles live from, like Andreas Altmann's father did. Andreas was born here in 1949. The little boy felt more like a penitent than a child.
Here you see the city's parish church. And here's the death of Eding as the death of Altötting. That's a symbol from my youth, that life is actually death. You must always remember that you're worthless and will be punished by death. And you'll probably go to hell if you don't go to the priest and confess.
Franz Xaver Altmann, Andreas' father, made his own family's life a hell on earth. The Rosary King of Altötting returned from World War II a psychological wreck, and his family soon began to suffer the consequences. Andreas was the youngest of 3 brothers. Later, a little sister was born. The images show cheerful children and a pretty mother. Their father is never to be seen in the family photos. A visit to the elaborate family gravesite gives an idea of how perfectly the Altmann family kept up a facade and how highly respected it was. The Altmann house, a stately villa that's something of a local landmark, no longer belongs to the family. In the 1950s and 60s, scenes of violence against mother and sons played out behind these walls. Under the tyrannical eye of their father, the boys had to perform the strictest labor at home and in the shop for religious articles. Andreas wet his bed, chewed his nails, and was considered a difficult child. At the age of 18, he fled home, becoming an actor and model. He underwent psychotherapy and entered a Zen monastery. He traveled and began writing prize-winning articles about his journeys and later books. He took many trips to India. He crossed Africa and wrote about the United States. As a traveler and reporter, his main interest was in people's stories, and he found them in places like Pakistan. Andreas Altmann was hungry for experience and compassionate, like here in an AIDS hospice in Thailand. Now 63 years old, he's found his place in life and the world. And today, he's our guest on Talking Germany, Andreas Altmann.
Andreas, so you've been on very many journeys in your life. And here, you chose to go on a journey back into your own childhood. A very painful place. Why did you go on that journey?
This book I published a year ago, A Shitty Life with My Father, A Shitty Life with My Mother, and my own shitty childhood, youth, has been circling around in my head for the last 30 years. I had the stuff already, of course. But as a writer, I was not ready because I didn't want to write a book which puts on misery, and I'm a poor guy, and I'm helpless, and I had a bad father, and a weak mother. No, I wanted to write a book which is strong, which shows a child who wants to survive this war with his father and has this fury, this rage de vivre. He wants to live, and he wants to resist his father, who tried, not because he hated me, because he was like this, to break my will. And this took me a long time to get the ability as a writer to do so. This was the only reason, not because now I have no fear anymore and to publish this. No, it was just a crafts decision. Do I have the craft to do this in a proper? And the craft is a writer.
Oh, I see. The craft, the skill as a writer.
Yeah,
I'm with
skills,
you. Okay.
The writing skills. Yeah. Mm.
Your father came home from the Second World War and declared war on his own family. Mm. Is that true? That's the way it's described.
Yeah, he was
causality?
He was first SA, and then he was SS man, and then he went to...
Do you know this because you have researched that and found that out, or did he tell you about his wartime? It was a dreadful war. Terrible things were done, presumably by your father. Did he tell you about that?
Very interesting, because when I was a young boy, I was not interested in the past. No child is interested in the past. Just want to live in the moment. And when I realized I'm interested in the past, then it was too late. Then there was no communication possible anymore between my father. When he came in the room, I left the room. There was no way to discuss. But he did not. Sometimes he had some folkloristic adventures, but there was he never touched on topics like Jews, like execution, like being an SS man, etc. I found the picture, shows him in the SS uniform, and then, of course, when I started writing, I had a lot of big correspondence with different archives in Germany to find out about my father. And then I talked to people, I talked to the archive in Altötting, I talked to people who knew him and testified and so on. The book lives off his reality. If someone comes up, before the book went into print, I had to go to the lawyer of the publishing house, and he showed me at least 40 passages where I mentioned people who are still alive. And he asked me, do you have the proofs? Because you cannot defame someone just telling you abused me or did. No, of course, everybody has the right to say, okay, but what kind of bullshit is that? So, and then I delivered. And then the publisher was ready to publish it. If one person had come up proving that this is wrong, I didn't do this, the book is kaput. It's over. It's not. But nobody came up.
Andreas, when you're talking about your childhood, there's an awful lot of vehemence, an awful lot of passion and energy. In your childhood, there was a lot of extreme negative energy. You could call it hate. Was there also love?
Oh, yeah. The book is dedicated to one of my... I have two older brothers, and it's dedicated to Manfred, who is the older, not the oldest brother. He was this guy who helped me to survive. He was extremely courageous. He was extremely generous. He shared his little salary, so we have food. And now, of course, there was love of other people who helped me. Of course, this is not a hate book. There are extraordinary people in there. They had a very normal life, but they had something beautiful. A belle personne, they say in French. It means a beautiful person, but it doesn't mean physically, but a
person with a good heart.
Yeah, with a good heart. Warm-hearted people.
What's the connection between what you've just been telling me now and the fact that you have become a traveller and a person who has gone out into the world to find out about the world and write about it?
Okay, normally I cannot say, this comes from this. Nobody can say that. But I mean, this is very simple in this case. I did want to get rid of this kind of smell of province, the smell of narrowness, the smell of not openness. So that's why I want to see the world. And then I was a Boy Scout, and I discovered that. And we had a bike, and it was very cheap, and we had a tent and a sleeping bag, and I discovered it's wonderful to be ailleurs, to be somewhere else. And then I discovered my curiosity. This is the only thing a real writer needs, curiosity, to be curious about people, what they think, how they feel, their wounds, their whatever.
OK. It's something that is, of course, difficult to measure, but there are plenty of indications that when it comes to travel, what we've been talking about here, Germans are the world leaders, the world champions, if you so will. So it's perhaps no surprise that there's a German word that's even been adopted in other languages to describe the itch to travel, which is Wanderlust, wanderlust. So let's have a look now at what people here in Germany are looking for these days when they do travel.
Germans love to travel, but they also enjoy having the comforts of home, especially in winter. More and more they're hitting the road in recreational vehicles. The newest products are at vacation trade fairs like the CMT in Stuttgart, from the classic VW bus to a luxury RV with a built-in garage and a designer bath. The latter costs a mere €750,000 for 30 square metres of luxury living space. Today, everyone wants a customised vacation. not 3 weeks at a crowded beach.
I like to go hiking in the Swabian Mountains.
I put together an individual vacation. I don't book it all in advance.
I like a mixture of cultural tours and leisure activities.
A little of everything. The new catchphrase is modular vacation.
The trend is to stuff more into your vacation, not to just lie on the beach, and not just art, but also to enjoy some social activities, to engage in sports, go hiking, things like that.
Bike and hiking tours have long since shed their stuffy images. More and more people now want to get some exercise while on vacation. And although Germans are known for their passion for foreign destinations, their favourite place to travel is still their own country.
Andreas, are you tolerant of tourism?
Let me tell a nice anecdote. I was in Mauritania, there was just one train. And there's one car where you can sit. The other train is just for loading stuff. And then, of course, I sticked out because there was just black people around me. And the conductor came up and said, "Are you a tourist?" And at this time I was very insulted. "Hey man, don't you see I'm an adventurer? How can you take me for a tourist?" And I told him, "No, je suis voyageur. I'm a traveler." And he said, "Oh, just a traveler." And he wanted to say, a tourist has money. He gives it out. He shows his riches. Traveler, his backpack, he's dirty. I like that. No, everybody can travel as long as he wants. It doesn't care if he travels with 5 suitcases, with 15 servants. The only question is, what brings he with him? And this is curiosity. Weltwachheit. I don't know if there's a word in English.
Being open to the world.
Yeah, this
it's
is
a great
all.
word.
This, if you're a woman, alone, if you travel in a group, it doesn't matter. If you have flip-flops or you have your Hermes bags with you, it doesn't matter. What brings you along when you travel? You want to see the world, you want to know something before you die. And the most beautiful thing we have, I don't know, maybe there's another word, but we have this one. And this counts, yeah.
When we go, I asked you a question about tourism, but there's also, beyond that, there's mass tourism. Mass tourism is beginning to have a huge impact on the world. There are places in the world, Venice is a very good example, that has simply become a setting for tourism. It is no longer a living city. That must be of great concern to a person like you.
Not only a person to me, I'm not a better person than other people. You touched the innermost core of every problem we have, and this is overpopulation. Look at the pictures. Look at a picture of the Costa Brava, the west coast of the Costa Blanca in Spain, and you see pictures 30 years ago. It was open space, and now it's bitumen. It's full of concrete houses, terrible hotels. Yeah, of course. Look at Creta 50 years ago. It was wonderful. Now it's gone. Of course. I went back to India, where I lived. It's gone. I didn't recognize it anymore. I couldn't recognize. I was lost. People had to tell me, where is this and that. That's terrible. I have no answer to this.
There's no answer. Because I sometimes wonder, I notice when I'm travelling and I imagine that I'm a person who's relatively interested in the world. I've got a degree of what you call curiosity, but sometimes I find myself in places sort of tramping about on, ancient Greek sites or something with very little interest and wondering why I am there. And I'm there with all the other people because it's round the corner from where I'm staying or whatever. How do you prevent that kind of thing from happening?
Everybody has the right to be curious and to see the world. That's the problem, of course. But I don't know. The more old I grow, the more I realize I try to live my life as I understand my life. When people do this and they don't have the money, nor the courage, nor the curiosity, then it's their business. Of course, I feel offended, I feel blessed, I feel wounded. I see that, but what do you expect me to do? Of course I write books, but nobody will listen. So you think a book can change the world?
You also write books where you create you create visions of other places in the world, and other people read that and think, I want to go there too.
Of course people write me mails and they say, thanks to your books. I don't know if it's true, but anyway, he said, I sold my stuff. I want to live with less things. I want to spend my money I have for things which are adventurous, exciting, so I can... whatever. Of course, some people are moved and some people change their life. But this idea of growth is sin already. People are... we have all these problems and people don't get it, that it doesn't make you happier. Of course we need money. Of course we need a dry flat. Of course we need some comfort. That's wonderful to have a flat with a shower and a bathtub. It's exactly. But there must be somewhere stop growing. Where we want to grow to. I remember a scene I read in a modern book, Bangemann. He was the ex-economy minister of Germany. And I see him on a Tagesschau, and he says, Germany must grow. And his chin, he had already a triple chin. Then I asked myself, Bangemann, where you want to grow to? What is the end? You want to explode, or what is it? Yeah. So that's why. But this is my speech. Nobody.
No, I've got it. Okay, point taken. Let's just go back to the travel theme, though. In the report that we just had, Germans say their preferred destination is Germany. Is Germany, for you, a fascinating place to travel?
Hey, man, I did a book on that. When I, on foot and without money, from Paris to Berlin. Because my publicist, he asked me to do, hey, Altmann, do a book on Germany. You will sell trillions of books. And I thought Germany there's no adventure. Everything is clean, everything is tied up. We live in a high-security prison, so there is no way to find something extraordinary. And then I saw this. I was in my coffee shop in Paris, and I flew through a magazine, and I saw this advertising, double-page advertising. I saw a man in front of a glass. Behind the glass, there was a new tin cow, a new car, I don't know, whatever, Mercedes. And below this man's was one word, desire. Desire. So this man desired this big new tin cow. And I talked to myself, I said, okay, I don't decide it. But then I had the idea. I would do the contrary. And I ran home, I called my publicist and told him, okay, let's walk on foot. And then Germany, I started in France, then Belgium, Luxembourg, and then West Germany. It was already after the reunification, and East Germany, and it was extremely interesting, wonderful, because another approach to come close to people.
Now, we've talked about whether Andreas Altmann has read travel books as a youngster, or at least that's one point I'm going to get to shortly. What I do know about him is that his favourite book of all, perhaps, and I'm going to check up on this as well, is a very traditional old German tale about a merry and rather subversive prankster who you might have heard of, called Till Eulenspiegel.
Till Eulenspiegel, the master of maliciousness and mockery. The cunning 14th century peasant is famous for playing satirical pranks on unsuspecting victims. Even as a child, Eulenspiegel delighted in playing jokes on his contemporaries. He's a sly hero whose escapades have amused and delighted all ages for centuries.
He interests both young and old. That's very nice. Something about him transgresses boundaries.
Legend has it that a real-life Eulenspiegel lived in the village of Kneitlingen, near Braunschweig in Lower Saxony. Documents show that a man named Till Eulenspiegel was baptized there in 1300. Today, the neighboring village of Schöppenstedt houses the Till Eulenspiegel Museum, which has a permanent and also changing exhibitions. These original pages from an Eulenspiegel first edition are priceless. They date back to 1511. Back then, the novel hit a nerve and enjoyed great success. At that time, there was no entertaining literature of this kind. The book became the first bestseller in the German language. The Swiss professor Alexander Schwarz has been researching the Eulenspiegel phenomenon for many years.
The
Eulenspiegel book is the oldest German narrative text that's remained well known and successful over the centuries, in the German-speaking world and beyond.
94 tales of Eulenspiegel's adventures exist in print. In one, he teaches a donkey to read. In another, Till's a baker's assistant whose boss sarcastically tells him to bake owls and monkeys, which were considered bad omens. Till does so and sails dry up. The Eulenspiegel tales are famous all over the world and have been translated into 100 languages. Authorities like the church, the state, and Till's superiors are the butts of his jokes. Eulenspiegel's burial is his last prank. The casket slips, leaving Till standing upright inside it. The legend of Till Eulenspiegel lives on.
Well, Andreas, you did once say on a radio interview that I heard that Till Eulenspiegel was your favourite book, but you're not quite sure whether it's your favourite of all time. Certainly it's a character that you identify with. Why?
He was anti-authoritarian. He was a guy who contradicted people. He did not accept orders. He followed his own voice. I remember in Australia, I listened to an interview. I have a small word receiver in the bus, and there was a Jewish guy who did all the finest Nazi addresses, Bergen-Belsen, Mandeneck, Birkenau, and he survived. And then he fled, and then he didn't flee, and he was accepted by the Australian authorities. And I was so moved by it, what he said. And then, so I decided when I come to Melbourne is the intellectual city of Australia, I want to get in touch with this person. And then he was already 85, and he was writing another book, and finally I got in touch with him, and he was kind to give me 1 hour of his life, his personal life. And he at the end of the conversation, I asked him, what would you tell young people, what should they do? And he said, there's only one phrase, think for yourself. And this is it. So this is it. This guy, he thinks, he doesn't say, okay, yes, master, I do. Yes, master, I do. No. He said, hey, wait a minute. Is this intelligent, what you tell me? Is this good for me? Is this good for mankind? Or do I have to contradict? No, I did not, and I quoted him already. Sartre is also a minor writer, and he said, I can neither obey nor give orders. So I do not obey. Make propositions. Maybe your proposition is better than mine. Of course. I'm on your side. Of course. Everything can be better written, can be better thought through. If this, of course, then I'm ready to accept.
OK, so Till Eulenspiegel, a subversive prankster who you identify with. What role does religion play in your life?
And then something else for Till Eulenspiegel. He was not violent. He was witty, with his brains. And as Michelle Obama said, there's nothing more adventurous than being smart. I think it's a very nice phrase. And he was smart, this guy, streetwise, it's there. Religion means I'm anti-religion. Sometimes I get some scum on my mouth when I talk about it. I saw this, I suffered from religion. I saw what religion can do to people. And I try to if you want, to preach a worldview and approach the world, which means with your intuition, with your ration, with your brains, with your intellectual power. So try to understand, but do not believe in eternal truth. There is no eternal truth.
The reason I'm asking about religion in connection with Till Eulenspiegel is it's all a question about it's all a question about sort of what values you adopt. It's easy to be subversive, but then the question is, what values do you actually subscribe to? And you're giving me the values that you take from the European Enlightenment. You've also been in a Zen Buddhist monastery.
Yeah.
Tell me about that, because you've been telling me a lot about your anger from your early days and what you've been running away from. I'm interested in where you're going to.
Just to add something to Eulenspiegel, of course, his main enemies were the clerics.
Exactly.
Okay, now, first of all, I'm not a Buddhist, of course not. I'm a weak person. I'm not strong enough to follow up the Buddhist rules. And I was in this monastery just to learn concentration, to be mindful, not to be distracted, to do one thing at a time. I'm completely anti-multitasking. Do this. What do? You talk, I listen to you. Hopefully you listen to me. So we have this wonderful idea, wonderful moment of talking to each other. So when I would say humanism, and the basic rule of humanism is respect the other people. That's all. You can be brownish, brown, black, yellow, green, whatever. Respect him. I don't need God to tell me that I have to respect other people. What kind of thinking is this, that someone has to tell me that I have to respect other people? This is our I mean, this wonderful first phrase of the human rights, I hope I get it together, is all human beings are born free and equal in dignity and rights. And there's no God who decides. We people, we humans decide that other humans are equal. At least we try to live up to this wonderful phrase.
And when you talk about the way you live a life, the focused way you live a life, the maybe anti-consumerist way you live a life, I gather that in your apartment in Paris, it's a very Spartan kind of life.
No, I have 12 leather jackets. Do I need 12 leather jackets? I love 12.
OK, you put me in the
No, I have a very nice apartment.
OK, nice apartment, 12 leather jackets. I've got to move on, and I've got to ask you this question.
But
do you have a bike?
Yes, I do.
Good. We'll talk about the bike now. The reason I'm asking is that cycling is becoming more and more popular in German cities. It can be a bit of a battlefield, though, sometimes. There are cars or trucks against bikes and cyclists against pedestrians. We've got this report, and then we'll talk to Andreas about his bike.
Cycling enthusiasts. In the city, biking can often help you reach a destination faster than you can with a car. And of course, it's much cheaper and better for the environment. But cycling can also be dangerous. 370 bicycle riders died in accidents in Germany between January and October last year, 13 of them in Berlin. Bikes painted white memorialise them at the sites of the accidents. Some cyclists live dangerously. They disregard traffic regulations, talk on the phone while pedalling, or cross at red lights. They want to be faster than traffic planning allows for. Most cities don't have comfortable, safe bike paths like this one, and so bike riders often cut through pedestrian zones, which not everyone likes. Bernd Irgang feels he has a mission in Frankfurt am Main. As the chairman of the Association of Pedestrians, he wants to put cyclists' feet back on the ground. In this zone, bikes are permitted, but only at walking speed. But Irgang is the only person trying to enforce the rule.
You see the signs that are everywhere here and where the pedestrian zone begins. There's the bicycle symbol and beside it the words walking speed.
Yes, that's about what my speed was. You know how fast I walk?
That was a marathon.
Precisely.
Excuse me, can you stop, please?
Many cyclists are annoyed when Irgang harangues them on their way home in downtown Frankfurt. But the self-appointed spokesman for pedestrians plans to carry on his battle until his city is free of dangers to those on foot.
Andreas Altmann, what would you do if Bernd jumped out in front of you?
He wouldn't, because I'm too fast. Anyway, I know a little about this German soul, and this is someone who wants Recht and order, law and order. No, we don't need this guy. But let me just, it's very important for me. Otherwise, we get the impression this book is, okay, there is some moral guy running around teaching people how to behave. No, above all is the spell. I want to be spellbound. I want to be thrilled by the world. That's the beauty of the world. This is the beauty of the stories I hear, the misery of people I hear, the pride of these people, how they get along with their lives. This is interesting. Sometimes I pull out my erected index finger and tell something, but the most important thing is thrill, the intensity, the feeling I'm alive, I live, I feel myself. I'm not a walking zombie, I'm dead already. Officially not, but unofficially I'm dead already. Just wait to be buried.
After what you told us about your childhood, and after the long journey that you've been on through life, would you call yourself, and after confronting yourself with Zen Buddhism, would you call yourself a person who is reconciled with himself now?
No, absolutely not. This would be the end of a rider. I'm an extremely nervous person. Extremely nervous. No, of course not. No, this would be, then it's like an apple. As long as he is green, he grows. And he is there. As long as he is ripe, it rottens. No, of course not. I'm not. I'm a European. I'm a white man. I'm not, as Freud said, the white man is not able to be happy. So And this is maybe the source of our success, because we're not happy. So that's where we invent all this stuff, and we have this inquisitive. You can do the white man bashing. On the other side, he has this inquisitive mind, and there's something very beautiful, and I really appreciate. No, of course not, I'm not, and I don't want to be reconciled. When I'm dead, an eternity, as Woody Allen said, eternity can last a long time, specifically at the end. So when I'm dead, then it's time to reconcile.
Let's just come back to bikes. Yeah, we were talking about bikes. Yeah, we got a little bit off the track there.
Yes,
yeah? You said you're the speedy kind of cyclist.
Yes, I am.
Yeah? Have you ever done a journey on a bike?
As a Boy Scout, yeah.
That's a long time ago. Yeah,
yeah, but now I just do the city travels.
You see, that's my way of travelling very often. I've done quite a lot of sort of long trips on bikes, which have been extremely rewarding. Yeah, it's a very good way to see the world.
It's wonderful. Yeah, you can stop.
Yeah,
you depend on yourself.
Yeah,
that's excellent.
Another good way to see the world is by walking through it, yeah?
Yes.
And one of the journeys that you've been on that you've mentioned already, I'd like to go back to that, yeah, is the journey from Paris to Berlin, the German capital. Let's have a look at some photos and perhaps you can tell us what we're seeing here. Yes. Have a look there, Andreas. What have we got?
Here, this is the start. We're still good in shape. This is a kind of a little... this is on a cemetery in Belgium. And... yeah, I had this, this is along on a cornfield. There's a bum. I don't know anymore where I met him. It was very nice. You see the resemblance now with the time. There's a public toilet. It was not, and I used it.
You used it? You climbed up onto the truck and used it?
The policeman brought me to this homeless hall, and then there was very... astonished because I pulled up a camera and asked him to make a picture. It was very nice, yeah.
Why did you go on that journey?
I mean, people...
Because you wanted to write a book.
Yeah, and people expect me to have these wonderful, honorable answers. No, first of all, I want to be famous. I want to write a good book. And I had this nasty publicist who told me, please do a book on Germany. And I always told him, there's no way, because it's...
You wanted to buy another leather jacket.
Yes, of course. And I thought, it's interesting, let's do it. And it was because I'm not bad, so I had to learn how to beg, how to have this menacing tone when you talk to people. Give them a kind of threatening, you know this? Okay, hey man.
Are you serious?
Yeah, pull out the money. Yeah, no, I do not hit him, but I...
Well, no, come on, when you set out on the journey, what did you have? What did you have in your bag? Did you have any money with you?
He had €2.77 centimes, yeah? That was all. And then I started begging.
And you didn't have a bank card? You didn't have a credit card with you or anything?
And then you have to learn. You have to learn begging. First of all, you're nice. No, sometimes you meet someone and then you feel him. He's maybe weak, so you convince him. He's not ready. He's a bum. He's not ready to give you money. He thinks you're a lazy bum. You don't do anything in life. You steal the Bruttosozialprodukt, the income, so whatever. So that's why it's a kind of seduction, an act of seducing someone. And then people not only give me the money, and they give me stories. That's the most important thing. He tells me, or she tells me a story. And then some old ladies, very nice, they saw me, had a beard already, and they invited me. What an act of courage. They invited me in their home, they made me a soup, and they told me, you know, how courageous I am to invite you in my house. Very nice. Wonderful stories. Very, very touching. And then other people who did a moral speech and told me, fuck off, do something with your life, don't beg, and so on. So, human mankind, this is it. And
Andreas, bad language aside, yeah?
Yes,
what do you think your father would say about you today?
It's the same question I'd be asking. If you were Shakespeare, would I talk to you? I have no idea. He might be in all his sickness, he might be a little proud because he presented me to people as the loser of the family. So if been grown up as a man who loses his life. And maybe at the end, and I have no idea. I have no idea. He was a very unhappy man. And there's a wonderful poem out by Borges who said, I committed the biggest sin a man can commit. I was not happy. And this is what we are for in this world, to have joy in life. Not fun, joy. Deep feelings. connected with them. And he was not.
It's a good place to stop. Yeah. We're running just a little bit out of time, so we're going to move on to the traditional Talking Germany quiz. Yeah.
Yes.
I'll give you alternatives.
Hopefully.
First one up, Andreas. Rucksack or suitcase?
I don't have a suitcase.
You don't have a suitcase.
But
well,
I have
a
bag also. I have a rucksack and a knapsack and a bag, so it depends.
Dictionary or guidebook?
Dictionary.
I thought that's what you might say. Memories or photographs?
Memories.
And to keep those memories, yeah, a pencil and a notebook or a laptop?
A laptop.
A laptop? You're a laptop person?
Yes, it's in Yiddish, a schlepptop.
I haven't heard that one before.
It, yeah.
Are you a travel snob or a travel democrat?
A snob.
If you had a time machine, would you prefer to travel into the past or into the future?
Neither.
Why do you say that?
I want to stay where I am.
You want to stay where you are?
Yeah.
Here and now. What's your favourite destination of all?
You mean on the planet, on this earth? Where I feel alive. I don't care where it is.
Good answer. OK, time's up with today's guest, Andreas Altmann, somebody who's nearly always on the move. He's been a thought-provoking and passionate guest, that's for sure. If you'd like to find out a little bit more, then do read my blog on the Talking Germany website. And if you've enjoyed the show as much as I have, do come back next week. Until then, bye-bye and tschüss.